Hey everyone, we're not going to be wasting any time with this one. We're going to be jumping right into this 11 miss. We're going to be covering some of the boss mechanics, the mobs mechanics, some of the different routes, and some of the things that we did well and things that we could improve on. So, very first pull here, you want to make sure you are not directly stacked but close enough for healing. Mobs do a 4-yard AoE with leap. I see the link that comes out here. Dwarf Racial works on these dots, but I don't want to use it right now because I know that these things aren't going to be dead and they'll jump again. So right there, a Dwarf Racial. So make sure that you're using all of your defenses off the beginning here. If no one dies on this pull, it's pretty easy, but it's very, very easy to die. So be careful when going through the very first pull here. Make sure that when these guys get their Soul Cleave buff, they're not autoing the tank. The more that they auto the tank, they're going to lifesteal a lot. And then the big tree guy, he just dies at 20%. So at this point, you want to make sure that the overgrowths don't go out, but you want to focus the Soul Cleavers now. So there's a couple different paths to going through here. This is going to highlight the path with the Warlock. We have a actual lock gate, and I see that these things might be able to auto attack him. He clearly doesn't want to be hit. So I'll knock him once, and now our Warlock will gate straight through the wall. And I make sure that that doesn't aggro anything, because I would instantly... I'm not really sure if I have my buffs up here. I switched my UI from this key, just because I can't really see everything. I think that this one is a bit rough for me to actually see the cooldowns on like Touch of the Magi. I know that I wasn't able to perform how I normally would want to due to... I actually couldn't see the physical numbered timers on these abilities, as you can see on my UI, so I wasn't actually able to do it how I normally. But overall, you're right here, you want to make sure that if there's anything that's going to be kicked, it's those Harvester's casts. The Soul Cleavers right here, just don't let them auto attack when they get their big buff. Make sure if you have a lot of movement, try to get these buffs in the back. I saw that the Shaman had already gotten there. These guys, you want to always focus one down, because if they AoE at the same time, they are going to kill your group. They do so much damage. So right there, our tank marked Skull on one, so we'll focus Skull down. It's pretty self-explanatory from here. Back in the old seasons, Bramble right there used to do instant damage, so it was just such a pain to deal with. Now, as long as you're not in it for like 0.5 seconds, it's a decent grace period, I'm not gonna lie. So far watching this back, I've noticed that I don't really stand in healing rain as much as I could. I do play with a Resto Shaman on my team. I guess it doesn't really matter if I'm gonna alter it anyway, but it's still... I should be in healing rain more often. Right there, I got a little bit greedy. I probably didn't have to wait out here for any of the orbs. I could have just went back in. So I pop my cooldowns right now to get them on CD. So by the time he phases, I will have my damage up. And depending on your class, depending on your group, depending on the level, you kind of want to make sure that you save all CDs for that phase, but sometimes people can be super greedy and like save like 30-second CDs. You do not want to do that. You can spend like 30, 45-second CDs on this big guy. It's not like right there I send my 45-second CD, which is Touch of the Magi, and then I will, when I don't have any buffs here, I'll probably use Shifting Power to get that lower. And once we get a pretty low HP, I think we have Tremor in this group as well. Yeah, we have our Tremor Totem. So once we get low HP, we will then use Tremor Totem. He has a fear that will fear you for 2 or 3 seconds, I forget. But with a Shaman, there's a couple other things that can just straight up break fear as well. But a Shaman with Tremor can break the fear for everyone in the group. You want to make sure that you're actually focusing this guy down with all of your damage at the beginning, because there's going to be someone in your group that's like holding every single button for this, and you would really want to make sure that this phase doesn't last too long. As long as you don't run through the puddles, it's okay. And especially with a Shaman being able to have the Tremor Totem, it makes this boss a lot more manageable. So we lost right here. I'm gonna get my buff set up, Arcane Surge, and now we're just going to try to blast into the boss here. I so far haven't gotten the best of luck with procs right now, which is quite unfortunate. No procs, and So this is not a great burn phase for me. I feel like I could have done quite a lot more damage there. No matter what, it's most likely going to need another phase anyway, so I got a couple buffs going into this guy. It should be fine. One of the things that I can improve on as well is before I get my third spell of clear casting, I can definitely be spending all arcane charges because your Aether Attunement is most likely going to refund all charges anyway, so it's kind of like, why not spend all of them? You could potentially get an extra proc, and you could just proc like 6 times and get a lot of barrages and never have to... It just frees up stuff later on. It might not be the most damage right then and there, but being able to keep setting yourself up for success during a key seems to be a very hard thing to do as arcane, especially with your arcane surge and everything. It always finishes packs, so then you have your arcane cloak, and then you don't get to use your arcane cloak to stack up on the boss. So I'm going to try to get my CDs on cooldown here. I didn't realize that we actually had our warlock, so we're going to be just running straight through the maze while pulling. At the very beginning here, you can pull to the right, and I don't really know if you could pull to the left. I don't know if you could spawn those mobs. Like right here, the key's too low still. I just have arcane cloak and everything. It's maybe a bit overkill, and I could have saved it for this one, but I think it lines up okay with... I'm trying not to match everyone else's CDs as well if I can, especially how I can reset all my stuff. I do try to keep everything on CD the best I can, but I'll be honest, this UI probably shouldn't have used this the first time. It was working pretty well on target dummies, but I didn't realize that I couldn't track my actual timers of certain abilities I'm just really used to on my old UI. So my next video, I think I have the UI changed back to how I like it, and some of my friends taught me how to do a couple different things with weak auras, and I might make a quick video about that. There's very easy, simple weak auras that you could just make. You select your buff, and if you always want it to show and such. If you want just a nice generic weak aura to track a trinket, this would be a pretty easy way. If people are interested in that, I'll try to make something with that. Maybe I can learn even more about it and then get better at it myself. So this is a great pull through the wall, and I think we tracked the mob. I forgot which way it went while we're watching this back right now, but I believe we all just kind of pitch in and oh yeah, I think it went straight and then straight back. So I'm just kind of running right here, probably shifting power. Yep, I probably could have done that a little bit earlier if I had mounted up. So right there was kind of a waste of a global early into this fight. I probably could have been stacking. I always try to alter time these early. And remember, the Mistfall Stalker, depending on your group, you need to focus it down. If it gets like multiple bites off and no one brings it back into melee, everyone's just running around the room, it's going to probably kill some people, but there's a decent amount of outplay. Just use one defensive. A Dwarf Racial is amazing for it. Dwarf Racial is so good at this expansion. It really feels like it has so much value. I think there's a lot to be said about Night Elf and all of that, but just living in keys, I have to say Dwarf Racial I think takes it. I think it really does take it. In like MDI settings and stuff like that, if you need to de-aggro things, there's a lot of crazy pulls. I think Night Elf is always going to be best for some of the craziest things you'll ever see in the game. But for right here, for this season, if you're trying to push keys, I would probably have to say if you can be a dwarf, especially, I just saw that they're going to be nerfing Drakthir if you're not a actual dragon. I don't know exactly what they're going to be changing with that, but I'm curious. I'll be taking a look at that in a little bit. And dwarf has got to be the best. Right here, I do believe this is a run where we got a bad maze path, so I think we could normally get a lot of free percent. You can see the shaman in the corner kind of running around. I think he just did the maze for everyone, so I believe he did the maze for the last one. On this mob, I see a lot of pugs having an issue with it. This circle on the ground and this frontal circle heals him on the ground, then he does a frontal that pretty much travels the whole room. That thing is nuts. If you see that frontal, do not be in front of it. It's going to hit you. Like, I give full respect to this thing. It is cross map. You're going to die to it. So just give it its space. And if you're a tank, pre-move on this pool of radiance. It almost always gets one tick. That's a frontal right there. I'm trying to get into a corner. And now the shaman did the maze for us already. Beautiful. So we're already onto the next pack. Right here, tender is your main concern with your kicks. When you go into the pull, make sure you make your focus right here. I have the tender focus targeted. That can heal the entire group right there. Nourish the, I think it's Nourish the Forest. That can heal the group the entire way. It's absolutely insane. You do not want to let that get off. If there's anything in this entire maze that you do not want to let cast, it does that. It will full heal if you don't have like I'm sure Mass Dispel works on it, but you do not want that going off. It will full heal the whole group, and the Mistveil Stalker will have just a great time eating your entire team. So make sure you get those. Expels are kind of just a knockback, and they aren't too bad. One thing you can do as a ranged is not be as far out. I think I was fairly far out on those. I don't think I needed to be that far out, but I don't think it was that bad. Right there, I believe I could have been shifting powering. Oh, I was not, because I had Touch of the Magi up. So that makes sense. And once touch is done, I think I should probably shifting powering, get everything else back up. I have my shield on already, so I don't really need to worry about that too much. And when I have no procs of anything, shifting power, which should probably be used here. And I use Dwarf Racial, so I think there was a misplay here not using shifting power. I would have gotten I think this is just a product of this UI right here. I can't actually see how close I was to those arcane surges. So I also think I know that the boss is coming up next, and I don't want to use all CDs anyway. So I think right now I'm definitely holding, just because I think it's boss next. I think there's a chance that it could not be boss, but right now it's 5 or 6 in, and it could be boss, and it could be the other way, but this one path is a very short path to boss, I believe. Which isn't necessarily bad. I don't think it's too bad to pull those end mobs. Yeah, so I think I had just decided to save for the boss here, had it just been boss room, which it is. And there's a new tech. I guess we can't even pull those mobs, unfortunately. We just got unlucky with these mobs here. New tech where if you actually use the Mistcaller's arrow, she puts out those arrows that are gonna come out here. What are they? There it is. The frontal, the dodge frontal. If you hit the ads with that, it actually does damage. Her little guessing game that she pops up. I just saw that on some YouTube video. I'm pretty sure anyone that's ever done this boss knows, don't go near that fox. That fox will kill you. So be careful with that fox. That thing probably, I think it's 10 seconds. It will just fixate on someone, and it will stun you. This patty cake right here, I thought the tank wasn't going to kick that. That was tight. That patty cake will stun the tank, and only the tank can kick that. It is only a tank ability, and if the tank does not kick it, the tank will he'll probably die. If you don't have huge defenses like a Cocoon, everything for him, Cocoon, Link, I mean, it's going to be rough for the tank. You could get lucky in a sequence, so we're doing no fill for this. It's nice having a team that all knows how to do this. And right here, we're going to have one of the arrows go straight through the mob, and the mob got absolutely wrecked because of that. So in the future, I think we'll definitely be trying to optimize that a bit more. It looks like it fully one-shots them if you get all 5 of those in there, and you can see when it's going to be casting. So one of those platers that I have, you get to see some of the actual cast times and when they can queue it up. Just because it's queued up doesn't mean it can cast, but it will be able to if it can. it chooses one of the 3 spells, like right here. I can't really see if those 2 are up, but now it could go between 2 different spells, and it chose frontal, and then it's going to do guessing game right away. And now we just have to choose. It is just our flower. Yep. I think I figured that out faster in game than I just found it out right now, but I also wasn't really thinking about it too much. This is sometimes right there. That thing got obliterated because of those hits. That is awesome. So that's really cool tech. I found that out. I think the key that I did this, and I haven't been consciously actually doing anything with it, but seeing how much damage that did, I think it just fully one-shots it. There's no reason to ever use another CD on those. If everyone just stands on the one that it's there, all of your arrows will go in the same spot. It will just absolutely nuke that thing. Because the frontal always goes on your character, so you can guarantee whatever it's going to be. I always just try to, like, if I can, and I see no one's going to hit those, I try to get the polymorph on them. Because those can go stray, and then somebody else that isn't targeted by them will not realize that it's that close to them. Right here's our last guessing game. We're going to go see probably that circle. Yep. So circle only. I'm trying to aim through here. I think I kind of remembered it, or I probably got lucky. So there we go. And bam. That thing kind of got absolutely wrecked. Because that thing has so much health, actually. Yeah, that's such a cool mechanic that's actually in there. I wonder if it was in there from before and we just didn't notice it. Thought we were just blasting, you know? So Mistcaller is dead. This is a little bit of RP here, so we'll just jump forward 30 seconds. And we jumped right off, actually. So gate straight over. That one mob right there can pull. You can do slow fall. You can do Demon Hunter, Cage. There's so many different ways. Sap, I believe you can go through there. I'm not sure if I can polymorph them. I think they're labeled as beast. You could just polymorph, and then we walk through as mage, walk through first, let it aggro onto you, then you would use your invis after it. So that's a way more convoluted way and a way easier way to get your group to be killed. But if you have slow fall, any of the other things, Noggenfogger, you can just kind of jump off the side of the cliff and I think you'll be completely fine. That's how we normally do, but we have a Warlock, so we were able to gateway at the very, very corner there. If we're any further up, I do believe that we would have big issues and we would pull that pack. It's also not the end of the world to pull that pack. It's just kind of inconvenient. It's a very small pack further away from everything else, so if you can skip it, you want to skip it. If you can always get more efficient count in this dungeon just beyond that pack, but beware, if you die and you don't have someone to res you on the way in, it's going to be a pain in the ass because they need to get back through there. Maybe they have to use a potion now, maybe they have to do a lot of different things. I'd just be worried about that. If you're in a coordinated group, you're probably skipping it anyway. If you're in a pug, I really don't see the problem with pulling that 3-pack at the beginning. It's 2 count. It has 2 mobs less than every other pull. You can do it. If you're in a 9 and you're just doing a weekly or something like that, I'd probably just be safe. If you know you're low on time, then skip it or pull this down into the pack to the right. The problem is you just don't really want two of those big guys in at once. 2 staghorns, rough stuff. If you just have 2 people that are going to kick them on each one, it's not bad. Like, it's pretty easy, but I'm telling you, in a pug, one of those kicks is going to go off. It's just how it works. Someone's going to forget it, someone's going to miss it, and there's multiple sets of them in one pull, especially if you have 2, so I'd be worried about it. That's pretty much all I'd have to say. I'm going to just invis here. I don't want to die to 1 auto attack. I just tried to pick a mob that everyone else wasn't picking for my main target and then just kind of nuke into it here. So that one is pretty low, and I'll try to find a new target soon because I'm kind of using it as extra side execute damage. I have to get a new kind of weak aura for arcane charges. I think I need my arcane charges a bit higher than eye level, or at eye level. I think eye level would help me a lot. Without having it at eye level, it's kind of like looking down to clarify that I have enough to do, and then it's just I'm not used to mage enough, and I just put my Touch of the Magi on the wrong thing. I would have wanted Staghorn there. So this was, I'm just kind of trying to get myself prepared for the next pull, so I guess I'm not really thinking about this one too much. Right now, my main goal here is we have Tredova next, so I want to set myself up for success. I want to get as many procs going into it as I can, and I don't think I did a great job of it. I think I actually used some of my procs beforehand, but I saved all CDs. I was pretty ready to go in. Tredova right now has been changed just slightly, I think, and as long as you're kind of stacking up in the group and not using defensives for like, or not using movement when the circles come out, I'll show you what I mean. Because if you always move in the same way, the portals will always move in the same way, but if people are dashing around during it, it will actually track you. He's a mind control boss. So right here, it will remember where I moved. It only dropped one of those circles and will watch the next time that it goes. If I had blinked right there, the next time it would actually have like just sent that thing flying. And it might not kill you, but it's probably going to kill someone else, because out of nowhere, that person has been planning and then it will zoom past everyone. I wish I had kind of an example of what I'm talking about, but the more movement abilities that you use, the worse off that you're going to be in that. You want to move the least amount that you can, because then the next time is going to be easier to dodge. Right here, you do want to save some form of defensive and offensive ability for this shield. The longer that goes off, the longer that everyone takes AoE damage, and the harder it is on the group. You see how small those things moved right there? Now there are 2 puddles. The next time that goes out, there will be 3 puddles, and then it will move over just slightly. And so the more movement abilities that you can get away with not using there, you'll have for later to get away from, let's say, these mobs here for the tank on the mind control. There's so many different things that you can be using movement outside of it. And if you're not using movement during the drop of the circles, then they will be so much easier to dodge later, and you will definitely not have to use Eddie. See, look how easy these are to dodge for me. I've been only moving just a side step away, so now they're clustered in a pixel for me. But as you could see, some of the other people were moving more. The least you move during that window, the better off you are, because then he will not be able to actually track you down and cause these circles to be going out everywhere. You do not want circles to go out everywhere. You want them right here. I do not want to get hit by the ads, but I have to do single target damage to this boss, so it breaks him out of this shield. The shield face is no joke. You can die in this. You have to use CDs. Be very careful. Right here, I think I am getting ready for my execute phase. I'm excited. See how small my patch is right here? And normally, if you're just running around everywhere, then it's going to be an absolute pain to keep up with that. So just make sure when the acid drops, you are still as you can be with dodging it. That is going to help you later. The more you do that, the more everyone on your team does that, there will be less stuff on the ground to dodge in a smaller cluster. And if you have people just like fell rushing, blinking, using any type of disengage, all of it. If you have people running around, you are going to have puddles everywhere. So right here, that one was moving pretty quick. You can start to see when people were using their movement abilities, because it drops in the same amount every time. I'm always going to take these ticks here. I don't want the boss to get buffed and then just absolutely one-shot our tank, so I didn't think I would die there. As the tank, you should probably be moving away from everyone else, but as a DPS, you should also be cognizant to be moving away with the Mind Link too. So help the tank, but the tank should be moving away from everyone else. Everyone else is moving away from the tank. Tank is moving away from everyone else. Right here, we just need our final percent. We should probably be at like 95% at minimum and only have to do 1 pull, but We even had a warlock and still couldn't pull through the walls, so it's kind of rough. So this was a pretty fun key right here. I almost died to some aggro, but the guy was able to get it back. I kind of blinked back in. Overall, this was a fairly smooth key. I think there's a few things that we could have done to actually... Like, it's kind of a W key dungeon, actually. I don't know what we could have done to pull more effectively, other than maybe pull that 3-pack all the way down. But that's kind of... it, like I said, in a pug, it's kind of risky to do that. Even in like a coordinated group, it's kind of risky to do that because there's a lot of different things that you have to dodge. And even if you do get all the kicks, which we probably would, he puts a corrosive acid out. And when you get 2 stacks of those, they're brutal because they make you take more damage over time. And if you do a pull like that at the beginning, you're also most likely going to be pulling the skitterflies in because that's a huge pull and you may as well be doing that as well. So this was a full kind of overview of Miss. I hope it helped clear up some of the mob mechanics, and I will be looking to improve on Arcane Mage. Like right here, there's just so many times where I missed out on different windows and stuff because my UI is just, I did not know how to read it for this one. So this was a fun run for us. Thanks. If you guys enjoyed, like, subscribe. Any questions down below, let me know.